Okay, we're back for the second part of our tour. Without further ado, I'm just going to pass it straight to Barry, and he's going to now cover what's hidden behind all those tabs along the bottom there. So go ahead, Barry. Why don't you show us what that's all about?
Yeah, hi, Troy. It's great to be back. What we'll notice then at the bottom of the spreadsheet that there are 9 tabs. Now the tabs are color-coded, and each tab looks at a different type of analysis or a trade type summary. Now there's a green tab called Trade Performance, an orange tab called Trade Distributions, and then there's a group of 5 tabs that go through the trade type analysis, and finally there's an Expectation tab way over to the right. Oh, and there's one more called the Equity Charts, which is the risk and money management analysis. So let's just jump on into Trade Performance and see what that looks like. Give it a second here to switch over. So great. What we're seeing here is 4 graphs, and the graphs are going to tell us how well this system has performed over time. Now, if you remember from the first video, I told you you could change the rows or the date. Up here at the top, it shows you the start and end date for this performance sequence. The first graph here then shows you the trade equity. Now, I'm sure most of you would love to have a trading system that did perform this well. It's done a great job over about three to 4 months. So talk to Troy if you want to know about this one. Anyway, we can see that what we have here is a trading curve. Now, there's a difference between a trade curve and an equity curve. So most of these graphs we're going to look at are going to show you what we call the trade curve. And the trade curve just shows you the trading points times the dollars per point, but it doesn't take into account the slippage and the commissions. So it's not the actual performance, but it's within a few $1,000s of the actual performance. So again, the graph on the left is the trading curve. Now there's 3 graphs to the right, I'll bring them into view here, that show you how well this system is performed. As we mentioned in the first video, we've got percent winners. This is a really interesting graph because what we can see is the blue line that it started out, he had a great week. TJ had a great week here where he made 100% winners during that first week. But then it started to get into its normal pattern, and the winning percentage dropped for a couple weeks to where it began to stabilize at around 70%. And as we follow that blue line along, we can see that that has stabilized. We call this the running percent winners. And it's calculating the percent winners from the start of the analysis period. So once again, we can see that it is stabilized over a period of time, and that's very important for a trading system. You'll also notice that there's some blue diamonds in there. What those are is the percent winners for each week that the system traded. And once again, it's important that these trade percent winners by week stay clustered around that line. So you can see some are a little below, some are a little above. But if they're all clustered around it, again, it tells you have a pretty stable trading system, at least from the perspective of percent winners. The next chart down talks about the profit factor curve. And the profit factor is just the total dollars won over the total dollars lost. So you can think of it as how many dollars did I win for each dollar that I lost. This, once again, starts out a little high because this system started out trading at a time when it was just real in sync with the markets. But it's began to drop and began to stabilize at about 2.5, 2.7, somewhere in there. Once again, we can see that the red diamonds are the weekly profit factor, and they jump up and down, but they're reasonably stable around that curve. The final graph is the average dollars per trade. This one's really telling you how much you're making on a trade-by-trade basis. Started out once again high, up at around $275 a trade, but it eventually, over a couple weeks later, it stabilized at around $100 to $150 a trade. The green squares again show what the average dollars per trade were each week. Now this one will jump around quite a bit more than the others. but most of the time you'll see that it's got very good trade results. There was 1 week right here in approximately the third week that the average dollars per trade dipped pretty low, but again, most of the time it stayed pretty high. So that's the trade performance. As you can see, this gives you some really good feel for how your trading system is doing. Okay, now let's jump over to the trade distribution tab, the orange tab at the bottom there. Trade distributions. Now this is really fascinating. Most traders have never looked at their trade distribution. What this is going to show you is a quick glance at how your trades did, how many points your trade made. So this is what's called a frequency histogram. The numbers on the bottom, on the x-axis, are your points. Some are negative, some are positive, because you had, of course, winning trades and losing trades. The vertical axis on the left is how many trades fell within that trade range. So right here in the center, on this line right here, is between 0 and 4 points. Notice up here under the trade log title, it says this is in points, not in dollars. So we can see that some of your trades in this area were winners, and that the majority of your winners came here around 24 to 28 points. But you also had a lot of winners sitting over here at the 0 to 4 points. And then over here in the losing area, we had some losers coming in. The majority of the losers came in between 24 and 28 points. So that's all the trades in the analysis that graph is looking at. If we scroll down to the next chart, we can see these are the winning trades. So, of course, if it's a winning trade, all the trade points along the bottom will be positive. So this is just a subset of the trades on the upper one, on the upper all trade graph. But again, you can see where your trades fell, like where the winning trades fell. Notice there's a percentage along the top of the bars. That's the percent of trades that fell in that zone, or that what we call a bin on a frequency histogram. So between 24 and 28 points, 10% of your trades fell in that zone.
10% of your winning trades.
I'm sorry, you're right. 10% of your winning trades. If you look at the upper chart again in that same zone, you'll notice that 7% of all your trades fell in that zone. Again, 10% of your winning fell in it, but 7% of all trades fell in it. Let me slide on down to the next one. The next one is losing trades. Once again, if they're losing, they're all going to be below 0. So sure enough, this is a subset of that very first graph once again. Works the same way. Let me slide down to your long trades. Now, if it's a long trade, some are going to be winners, some are going to be losers. So it shows you that distribution of where your winners and losers were, and the final chart is the short trades. Once again, it looks very similar. Both are a subset of the all trades chart at the top. What's important a lot of times in this is you really want to see that your winning trades and your losing trades, or your long trades and your short trades, have very similar distribution patterns. If they do, then you know your system is generally, it's stable and it's repeatable. Let's go ahead and move on to the trade type charts